Okay, the moment you've been waiting for, heavily anticipated. Shawn Dinning from Dallas Jet is going to take you through the greatest ever aircraft values game show. While you're watching this, in fact, before he starts, please could you fill in the feedback form? I don't want it being tainted by his last session. And there is a drawing for an Embraer jet at the end. And if you work for Textron, you can give it to someone else. So thank you.
All right, check, check. You guys hear me?
No? Check, check. 1, 2, check, sound check. All right, guys, this is the last presentation of CJI 2025 Miami. You guys are gonna have to come up. You're gonna have to come up. Come on. All you in the back, you guys gotta just come up. Or like this is a table presentation. This is a table. It is not gonna go well for you if you stay in the chairs in the back. In fact, if you participate in this presentation, your net worth might actually increase from beginning to end. So please come. Come on, people. Come on up. Don't be one of those people. Thank you, everyone. It's my honor to be here with this esteemed panel. You know, aircraft pricing is something that in my line of work. I am Shawn Dinning. I'm senior partner of Dallas Jet International. We have so many friends in the room, but we're a full-service aircraft brokerage firm. We've been in business for 25 plus years. This year I just celebrated my 30th year of piloting airplanes, it's crazy to think, and you know, a little over 20 years on buying and selling airplanes. So it's an honor to be here. Thanks, Al. And we got a great panel for us, and it's about aircraft pricing, and it's about, you know, the professionals on this panel. We all look at pricing a little bit differently. And so we want to try and give you guys an inside look into the brains and the thought processes of how different professionals in our business look at pricing. And pricing affects every single person in here. So I think it's going to be pretty interesting. And I thought I was going to come in as an aircraft broker moderator, but now I'm just a cheap game show host. But I appreciate that. So you gotta pivot. So I'd like each of you guys just to say a couple things about what you do.
I don't know, that's a tough act to follow. Chief game show host, what does that make us? You know? Well, my name is Joe Zulueta. I own Aeronautical Systems. I'm an aircraft appraiser accredited by American Society of Appraisers. Specialty in aircraft, I basically do fixed wing airplanes. I also do current retrospective future values, expert witness, diminution of value, basically anything that has to do with numbers on a fixed wing. I basically am able to figure it out and put it on paper and be able to back it up.
I'm Chris Miller with Shearwater Global Capital. We're a private debt lender, so on business jets, so we loan people the money across the globe. And when we're an asset-based lender, which really means we are asset-based, and we base everything on the value of the aircraft, and we don't rely on any credit information from our borrowers.
Hi all, David Crick is my name, and I'm also an aircraft appraiser. And I also appraise helicopters. Fun fact, I actually started out as a marine biologist, so go figure, from the sea to the air. But I live in Australia and do this appraising aircraft stuff all over the world.
Hi, my name is Glenn Popp, and I'm actually the head of finance for Honda Aircraft Company. Been in the finance industry for a little over 25 years. You know, you got a fun fact here, marine biologist. I actually started life as an infantryman in the Army, and so I went from infantry to finance. It's kind of an interesting little story. But yeah, just been with Honda Aircraft for 8 years and really enjoying it.
Thanks, guys. I've had the pleasure of working with all these guys, and we'll have some fun. What we're going to do is we're going to roll through some concepts in pricing, and the flow is I'm going to ask a question. All right, and then we're going to pick a contestant, okay? The contestant's going to come up, and you're going to try and guess what the panel's answer to the question is, the overriding answer. We should have some majority level of answer up here. We're going to keep ourselves honest because we're going to write our answers down on the board. So we can't change our answer based on what the contestant says. And if the contestant guesses what the panel says, if they actually think about how a broker and two appraisers and a lender and an OEM, like if they think kind of collectively how these people think about these questions, you'll probably get it right. And I believe there's some prizes, which I probably forgot to bring up on stage, but yeah, Oscar, thank you. So there's prizes, so your net worth actually could go up just a little bit by the end of this presentation. So we're going to get into and then we're the crowd. Okay, get your Slido ready, because we're going to compare sort of the perceptions up here versus the perceptions out there, and it'll be interesting to see how those compare. So please get the Slido ready, because you're going to be answering the same questions that we're answering and the contestant is answering. So this.
Shawn, can I add one little piece there that you did not tell us?
What's that?
You said that we were going to write it on a board, and we were not going to, there's no way we could cheat. These are permanent markers.
All right, yeah, and I guess these are disposable boards then.
Yeah, they didn't say cardboard. This is not cardboard.
All right, well, this was supplied, yeah. So the first concept is, let's move, if we could, to, for the first prize, we should have bonus depreciation. Do we have that on the slide? Well, the topic is bonus depreciation. And the question is, all right, Oscar's running all over the place, man. Game show is a tough business, y'all. It's way harder than it looks, and we're getting there. But the question is, will bonus depreciation affect residual value curves for the next 5 years? That's the question. Will bonus depreciation affect residual value curves? And we're still waiting on the AV here. But here's the answers. A.
Come on, Al.
Uh-oh.
The rehearsal was...
Yeah. Even when they bring the producer from Hollywood in, it still is, okay. Okay, but all right. So here's the question. Will bonus depreciation affect residual value curves for the next 5 years? And the choices are A, it'll prop up residual values. B, it'll negatively affect residual values. C, bonus depreciation will not have any effect other than an occasional Q4 bump. So let's cue the music. Let's do our answers, and we're gonna pick a contestant. I think, oh, she totally got up from her seat. My first contestant. Breno, let's go with you. Come on up, man, and let's get the music going. And let's see here. All right. So let's get the questions back up there. So Breno, we can have a conversation. Do you think bonus depreciation will prop up residual value? Do you think it will have a negative effect on residual value over the next 5 years, or do you think residual values will remain the same and we'll just have a Q4 bump here and there, all because of bonus?
Okay, so I believe it's in the next 5 years, right?
Yeah, 5 years is the window.
Okay, so I believe there will be an initial bump up in the residual value, because this is going to stimulate the market. It's going to stimulate more transactions, more demand, and more demand will make prices go up. But as the industry kind of gets used to it in a few years, and productions, including of new aircraft, will catch up with demand, I believe this effect will diminish. So I think in the near term, yes, it has a tendency to bump the value a little bit, but not sustainable in the long run.
A, B, or C, Breno?
Okay. Come on. I would say...
give that man a prize.
I think I'll choose A.
A. Okay. Panel? C, okay. Wow. Well, and that is the difference between brokers and everybody else. And so, all right. So, Breno, we will get a participation prize for you. We're gonna get on to the next.
Shawn,
go ahead.
just to talk about bonus depreciation, you have to realize that the only place where bonus depreciation has an effect is here in the U.S. And every year, the U.S. is a smaller and smaller percentage of the overall market. Now, granted, it's the majority, but in other countries, it's irrelevant.
Yeah, no, and we're going to talk, so now we're going to get a little serious on you guys. We're going to talk about this. How has each of your businesses changed since bonus depreciation's kind of got re-cemented into the scene?
Fully anticipated that it was going to go through, and I knew that the minute it started, it was going to be a slow, you know that siren that you see in the movies, they go, that's exactly what it's been. It's just been spooling up, and the closer it gets to the end of the year, oh my gosh, I got to do this before it stops. So I think both Dave and I are giving a new definition to busy.
Chris?
It hasn't changed my business one way or the other, significantly, other than someone 2 weeks, the middle of December, I need to buy an airplane. Well, that's not going to happen. Other than just like my personal friends calling me and asking me about bonus depreciation. But for my business, it doesn't affect it.
Yeah, and that's the same for us too. It hasn't really moved our business one way or the other. We are having some pickup in interest calls, but outside of that, it's still pretty steady. So.
I'm going to add an additional point. So it started the ball rolling dramatically, but it kind of, you saw the activity, but I think until we started seeing the little clicks in interest rates, that's when it started getting serious.
Yeah, no, that's a good point.
And I think bonus depreciation hasn't just started this year. It was
it's always been
a post-COVID thing that was used to stimulate the economy. I think if it was a new thing and it was only in one country, it would be different. But it's not a new thing and it's not only in one country. So,
yeah,
no effect.
Yep, good point. Has it affected the way you value airplanes? Are your valuations changing at all? Are you almost wanting to put a handicap? Do you almost want to put an anti-bloat correction into your valuation? Or Chris, in your instance, you're trying to underwrite the deal. Are you putting in some type of factor for bonus, or it just doesn't really change your processes for appraisals and for lending?
From us, because most of our business is outside the U.S., although the U.S. affects everything, we don't really factor it in one way or the other. I think it's just kind of a wash over the overall big picture.
Yeah. Yeah. Appraisers?
Depreciation's an accounting concept for people to save tax or pay extra tax at a certain point in time. It doesn't necessarily affect the value of the aircraft. It may increase or decrease the speed at which the transaction might take place, but it's not necessarily going to affect the value of the aircraft.
Gotcha.
Yeah, I agree with that. So, I mean, our pricing, our valuation is pretty consistent with what we see in the market, this VREF, and then as far as what we've done in our latest deals. So we're not really adjusting our value based on the bonus depreciation. So, but like you said, we do see that little spike, that little pickup in interest, and moving through that.
Okay. I think the major thing that it does from my perspective is it doesn't affect the value of the airplane itself, but what it does affect is there's a higher supply of comps to be able to compare and be able to have a tighter number when you're making your valuation. So that would be our bonus, having more sources and more more recent transactions to be able to compare to.
Sure, yep. And obviously in our office, in my shop, I mean, it makes us busier. Bonus is good for the business. And, and hopefully it's good for the taxpayers. So, all right, next concept. So we need to move on to older aircraft is the next concept. And we can cue the music again. And we need another contestant. So I look out in the room. For some reason, Del Rey, you just look like a great contestant to me. So everybody, give a hand for Del Rey.
Come on up.
And the concept is older aircraft, and there's more choices here. And I think we've got so many choices. It's going up the page a little bit, but the question is, what is the typical economic life of a business jet? At what age does owning not make sense anymore? And so we'll go ahead and get the panel to answer that question. A is 20 years, B is 25, C is 30, D 35, E 40, F, if you can fly it, you can buy it. Airplanes live forever and ever and ever. That's my marker. Okay, Delray, what is your answer?
I'm going to go with C, 30 years.
C, 30 years, all right.
Oh, wait.
What? Oh.
Is that on program? Is that on engine program or off engine?
Good question.
I teed that up.
You know, if they give me the microphone, I tend not to give it back, right? No, I'm going to go with C, 30 years, Shawn.
Okay. All right, panel, let's turn them.
30 years.
Wow.
David was cheating. He was copying my answer.
Wow. All right.
Can I take the average of the answers?
Yeah, you got it. You got it, Delray. So prize for you. Nice work. It's my honor. So, all right, thanks, Delray. Okay, guys. So let's talk about older aircraft and the role they play kind of in this broader business jet market. Glenn, as your fleet has aged, I mean, you have a relatively young fleet, but as your fleet has aged, have you noticed any nuances or what have you learned about the market as your fleet has aged?
Yeah, so like you said, we've got a relatively younger fleet. Our oldest aircraft is about 9 years old right now that's out in the fleet flying. So as far as just age, we haven't really been impacted with the age of that. The one thing that we have seen as far as nuances in the market, we've got a lot of second and third Honda Jet customers. So it's always what's the next thing, what's the next upgrade, what's the next best technology. So we continue to really look at upgrading our technology, investing in R&D, seeing what we can do just to enhance the overall customer experience, enhance the aircraft. And that's really what we're seeing in the industry as far as what our customers are looking for is what's that next best technological piece for the aircraft.
Yeah, and you guys have made some interesting evolutions on the Honda Jet, and rumors that you're doing a lot more. David, what percentage of your business is appraising aircraft older than 20 years?
Older than 20 years. I think some of the bio photos are older than 20 years, but that's a whole other story. If you said to me, I'm going to appraise an aircraft that's 20 years old, I would think that corporate jet has been around and it's old. But if you say, can you go and have a look at an aircraft that's from 2005, I'd think it's quite new. And the juxtaposition is that an aircraft from 2005 is a 20-year-old aircraft. And it's quite often only having its first major maintenance event with its landing gear. It may have had its second sort of corrosion check. So a 20-year-old aircraft can be quite young in real terms. So in terms of answering the question, I can do that. We will probably see around 65, 70% of the aircraft that we would see would be older than 20 years.
Yeah, it's fascinating. In our office, one of the things we really look for on the older airplanes is, what modernization efforts have been made in that aircraft. And modernization means everything in our book. But Joe, how much can modernization efforts benefit the value of an aircraft?
Well, it really depends on the type of modernization, and it's interesting if you put it in priorities. One of the things what's the key thing that we're seeing now? Connectivity. Great, you put the state of the art in there. That's going to bring your numbers up. But by the same token, it wasn't that long ago that if you looked at an airplane with an ATG 4000, 5000, hey, that was a cat's meow. Now you're barely giving it any value, and even even to this day-to-day stuff, going with the Avance L3s, L5s, and even the Galileos, yeah, you're giving it value, but we haven't seen a lot of talking about it on these panels over the last few years. It's almost like the big pink elephant in the room. Starlink is doing some pretty good damage out there. You go to the website, every day there's a new STC out for another airplane to be able to put their connectivity system in there, and they are a direct competitor. You're starting to see them in both corporate and commercial. So that would be part of it. Cabin management systems at one point was a big ticket item to be able to give it some value. But now if you have good high-speed connectivity, who cares?
Yeah.
Because you could do everything streaming off your iPad. So a lot of it has to do with those things. I mean, the avionics, putting up the panels, well, yes, that's going to give it a longer life. But, that's a lot of things are done at the time when it goes into pre-buy. If you do some of these things, all you're doing is adding life to the aircraft and maintaining its residual value longer.
So if you had to rank connectivity, CMS, cabin management system, cosmetics, avionics, what moves the needle on ROI or valuation the most, do you think?
I would say right in today's world, I wouldn't have thought this a few years ago, connectivity, number one, for sure. Upgraded avionics, it actually works hand in hand with that connectivity, so that would be a good second. The cosmetic touch-ups and stuff like that doesn't move the needle. I mean, it's nice to have, but you almost lose it in rounding error.
Yeah, I mean, I would add that from our perspective, I mean, when the avionics become a little bit more important if there's obsolescence issues, right? So if there's if an OEM, if a cockpit OEM is putting letters out to their customers that expect AOG if you have this system in your plane, that is a good signal that you should be considering modernization on that platform. Chris, what is your appetite for older aircraft as a lender?
That's primarily where we kind of find ourselves in that market of 15 years and older. And we won't really consider an aircraft being old until kind of, depending on the type, until it gets to be around that 2025. And then that's when we start thinking about potentially advancing less and kind of increasing the amortization. And a lot of it has to do with just the age of the airplane. Obviously, that person, if it's a 25, 30-year-old airplane, the borrower, he's most likely going to be the last owner of that airplane, which is fine. Then also, the values of the aircraft get smaller. The numbers the numbers get so small. So, lawyers don't. When we ever have to repossess an airplane and the cost to repossess and the legal fees, lawyers don't charge by the value of the aircraft. They charge in real dollars. So, we just need to have just maintain that cushion.
Yeah. Yeah. That's interesting. So let's move on to the next concept. I like this. So let's move on. Engine program and valuations. It's a hot topic. All right. So let's cue the music. Next question for the panel and the next contestant. I think Mr. James Pearson looks really good. Yeah, I wasn't going to bring you up for this question, Delray. Come on. All right. So the question, and this is kind of a long one. I'm gonna have to paraphrase this question. We have a $10 to $12 million airplane, James, and the engine program buy-in is also $10 million. It's not a covered airplane. It is not on engine program. So it's a $10 to $12 million plane. The buy-in's $10 million. A shop visit for the engines would cost $8 million. We need to figure out what that airplane is going to appraise closest to. A is 2 million, B is 4 million, C is 7 million, and D is 10 million. So panel, let's get our markers going and cue the music and be ready, James. All right. Okay, so James, what's your answer?
All right, you asked me a topic I know very little about. but I've got a couple of appraisers right here in front of me, so I'm looking at them for advice. But if I do the math, so other aircraft of that example are in the 10 to 12 million range, and they are on the program. But this one doesn't have the program. As I understand it, the shop visit, it's going to be 8 million. So you appraiser guys are going to be vicious on this aircraft that's not on the engine program. So I'm going to say they're going to take off that whole value, and maybe you're going to say that's it's only $2 million.
All right. Okay, let's panel, let's turn them. All right, so we got 4, 4, 4, 4, and 2.
I was not right.
You were not right. So, but I do want to give you this prize, James, and thank you so much for being a good sport. All right, give it a hand, everybody. Okay, so the topic of engine program. Engine programs over the course of my career have gotten they've just become more and more common, more and more consumer preference for them, more and more expensive. So let's talk about it. Glenn, what is your take on engine programs? Does the concept of engine program come into play at the OEM level before the aircraft's even sold to an end user, or maybe with respect to demonstrators? What's your view on engine program?
Yeah, so for engine programs, yeah, we definitely like the engine programs. One of the things it does for us is that if you've got an engine program, obviously it helps us, it adds confidence to us that you've taken care of the aircraft. It's very well managed, and from a resale value, that's going to obviously help that. And we also look at it too from the standpoint, when you look at an engine program, we look at it as kind of insurance for the engine. And what I like about that from a finance standpoint is I like being able to forecast steady numbers and know what's coming in. So if I'm on an engine program, I know what my costs are, I know about what my expenses are going to be for that engine. And that's, personally to me, that's very, very helpful to know what my cash outflow is going to be. So that's for us, that's what's important for us in that engine program.
Yeah, cool. David, for engines that are not on program, what are some of the challenges or nuances in determining the value of that airplane?
Yeah, it's as James just found out, it's not just simply doing some math about, what's the cost and what's the differential. What we see is that it really depends how long since the engines have had a shop visit, which would kind of reset the clock a little bit and make the buy-in a different amount. The other thing is that if you're appraising an aircraft that has engines that may or may not be on program, it's important to look at what the rest of the fleet that's available have in terms of program coverage. So if you're appraising an aircraft, there's 20 of them that are available for sale, and only 6 of them are on a program, the market is not really saying that it's going to pay attention to the program. But if you're looking at a fleet that there's 20 and 18 of them are on program, you're going to have a much more higher ranking to the engine program taking effect in the value proposition. So it really does get down to more than just doing some math. It's more about what is the market saying and how long since that engine has had a shop visit.
Yeah, lots of nuance. We find that lots of nuance. You can't be binary on just the numbers. Joe.
Let me make a comment on that, because I just noticed that there's 33% of you thought it was the $2 million taking the full buy-in to the program. Well, using David's example, that's basically $8 million, say, to do the full overhaul. Well, that $10 million to do the buy-in, that delta difference, that's going to factor in other things. That could factor in, the next shop visit. There's going to be stuff. So anything that's going to happen to it from that moment, once it goes out of the hangar, that are going to be included as far as that buy-in. Whereby, depending on the age of the airplane, if you do the overhaul, that next buyer may not be the type of person that likes to use a Power by the Hour program that it's going to be on. So therefore, they'll fly it. It could be, now at that point, to do the buy-in once the overhaul is done, yes, it would cost them $2 million to get in. But to put it on the market at that given point, the value would be the $8 million of the overhaul that they just did. So I hope that better clarifies why that 33%, I go, gosh, that's pretty high there for... Because they were probably anticipating the fact that it was just the buy-in cost.
Yeah. Chris?
I'm more confused now.
Yeah. Yeah, man. Yeah, you should, yeah, Joe's reports, I mean, there's a lot of data on his reports. I don't know if you guys ever worked with him. Chris, what is your comfort level in originating loans on aircraft without engine program?
We typically require like 100% engine programs. And it's peace of mind, and that's where we're going to advance the most amount. We will entertain on one-off basis, but the terms are going to be dramatically different to account for that. Because the last thing we look at, when we do a loan on an airplane, I always envision us taking it back and having to sell it. We just don't want to sell something without engine maintenance programs. You can account for it with a lower advance, but it's just going to be harder to sell, and it's going to stay on your books longer. So.
Yeah, and I will say one of the hardest things we do in our office is valuing an airplane where the fleet is mostly on engine program, but then we have an outlier airplane that we're listing or possibly even buying, and it's not on program. It's one of the hardest exercises we do. We do a lot of diligence on that. We get a lot of sanity checks before we put a value on a non-covered airplane.
And don't forget, when you're talking about a value, what we're talking about is a standard transaction with a willing buyer and a willing seller that has knowledge about the whole scenario.
Good point.
There are circumstances where there is going to be this outlier buyer that says, I don't really care about the engine program. I'm going to fly the wings off this thing for 1,000, 2,000 hours, and then I'll deal with it. And they would be what's called a specialized buyer that doesn't really take into account that gap between the shop visit or the engine buy-in and the differential. So it's a tougher question to answer than just do the math.
Gotcha. All right, guys. Great module. Moving on. Damage and diminution in value. And did I say that right, Joe? Diminution? Okay.
Diminution,
all right.
right.
Thank you. All right.
Even the value right.
Yeah, I said value right. Okay. So we need our next contestant, and I just happened to see Joe DeLallo like right here in my, yeah, man. I mean, just like, were you falling asleep, man? I mean, come on. come on up, Joe. Yeah, all right, yeah. All right, the question is, Joe and panel.
So excited to be here.
You look it, yeah. It's
always been my favorite game show host.
That's nice, yeah, I appreciate that. All right, with respect to diminution claims, are insurance companies A, getting treated fairly in diminution claims, or B, getting completely hosed in diminution claims? It's two choices. All right, panel, let's get going on the answers. Joe, be thinking about it.
A and B on this one, right?
A or B? Yeah. Okay. Joe, what do you think?
I think this is the toughest, question that we've had to answer. I think it kind of depends on. That's right. But I do have a 50-50 shot. So I'm going to say that they have been getting treated fairly.
Okay, treated fairly. So that would be an A. Okay, panel, let's turn them. All right.
And there's a reason I put that.
All right. B, A, B, B, A. So B, A, B, B. Yeah, so B. B is the word, and insurance companies are getting hosed. Joe, we want to thank you for your coming up here and getting that wrong. And thanks, man. Thanks for coming. Good sport. All right. All right, people. Let's talk about damage and diminution in value. Joe, has diminution in value lost its way and maybe become more punitive than compensatory?
No, I think what we're seeing in today's world, if we're talking about the insurance companies and such that are taking the hits on these, they've gotten smarter. I mean, in the early days, you would pick up one of the price guides and they would have rankings anywhere from 0 to 20, 25%. And I can tell you there's been very few times, if any, that I've given a 25% diminution of value on any aircraft over the years. So we always knew that was wrong. But And they've gotten the understanding that they really need a third-party independent looking at it. One of the things that used to happen, even anything that even remotely smelled like damage, oh, no, no, no. And then they would have to say they had to disclose the damage when they were marketing the aircraft and all that stuff that we used to see on a regular basis. Well, it's gotten a lot easier now because there's a better understanding. You know, before you'd have in this situation where you send a mechanic out, he'd take a look at it, oh, gee, just remove that place, put it on, there's no damage here whatsoever. But, you know, there's different extents. I mean, what if they replace that part and now anything that they put around it, now there's a reinspection criteria to it. So it really depends on what the type of damage that is being done and what the end result will be. I think one of the biggest things that's happened now is they've gotten smart. They've been hiring people like us to go through and, you know, really calculate the information. I mean, did it happen? My diminution of value model has close to about 100 parameters. So I could come down to a pretty tight percentage. And I recently did one that, you know, the opposing side had a 10% diminution, and mine was a 0.1%, because it was something that, you know, they tried to make a 10%, whatever the mountain out of a molehill. There was nothing there. It was basically a scratch with an X-Acto knife, and they're saying, well, gee, well, just remove the panel, paint the thing, and move on. So the insurance companies are smarter because they're actually reaching out to us more than they used to.
Yeah, that's interesting. And it's interesting, the crowd has said that, you know, the insurance companies are getting treated fairly. So, so they're in line with you and Joe. Chris, how concerned should a lender be, in your eyes, about an airplane with damage history? I mean, how do you mitigate any risk that presents in your practice?
So my view on this has changed over the last 15 or 20 years. So I think it used to be a much bigger thing, but I think what Joe was alluding to now, just when an airplane gets, you know, damaged, or if a tug runs into it, there's just replace and repair, and it's just almost as good as new. So it's kind of just this kind of perception, but the perception becomes reality. And I think the insurance companies, and the reason I said that they're kind of getting hosed is because they're just getting so many claims for things that, like, it's perception, it's not really reality. And I think that the needle is moving to the point where buyers just realize, okay, that was replaced appropriately. And from a lender's perspective, the lens that I look at it, I don't think it really affects it as much as it used to.
Glenn, thanks, Chris. Glenn, what happens if an airplane gets damaged in production?
Yeah, so, you know, fortunately for us, we haven't had this occurrence yet. If we did have any kind of damage with it, we would obviously replace the part on it. And I think it really kind of goes back to what Joe was talking about, just what's the severity, what's the overall impact. So it's kind of on a case-by-case basis. You know, obviously we've got quality control measures we'd have to go back and look at, testing that we would do to make sure that the aircraft is airworthy, and safety being of the utmost importance as well. But from a valuation standpoint, we would have to look at it from a case-by-case basis and really just kind of see what that overall impact would be.
Fair enough. David, do you have a quick story on diminution?
Super quick.
Yeah, super quick. Yeah, I love this.
Diminution in value is a thing that is about the effect on pedigree of the aircraft. And as time progresses, there's other issues that affect pedigree. And so as the limits of inspections go back to normal, the diminution is actually limited more as time goes on. Exactly. So as time continues, the diminution from the damage is reduced. But we saw one, I mean, all sorts of different times. There was an aircraft that was having run-ups done, and the force from the engine pushed back onto another aircraft and ran it into a wall. And I was like, oh, this is going to be terrible. Anyway, they had three engineers from one side and two from the other side all arguing about how much this damage was on this little aircraft. And it went on and on and on for months. The lawyers got involved, the judges got involved. We got appointed by the courts to be the referee. And that was kind of scary because we're up against 5 different engineers that have all got these 20 and 30-year backgrounds in how to assess this. And the issue that was the biggest was that it wasn't the damage, it was the fact that through the process, the airframe's data plate had become missing. And so at the end of it, whether the damage was fixed or not, without a data plate, the aircraft wasn't actually an aircraft. It was a bunch of bolts put together. And yeah, you can get another data plate and you can work through that. But it so happened that the aircraft itself was, had a type certificate, and the type certificate holder is the one that holds the capacity to issue another data plate. The new type certificate holder wouldn't issue another data plate. So at the end of the day, the damage didn't matter a hill of beans. It was all about what the actual pedigree of that aircraft was, and without a data plate, it didn't have pedigree. So
Do they still pay you?
they did.
Yeah, excellent.
That's the important.
Excellent.
Well, and
All right.
the surprise on the engineer's face was like, oh yeah, we didn't even look for a data plate.
Yeah, there you go. All right, guys, moving on to the last module, and we need our last contestant, which I think the perfect contestant for this is Joanne. I see Joanne right. Yep. Come on, Joanne. Come on. And you are the person for this.
Come on down.
No, you are the person for this. You are the person for this. This is a future of market values. All right. So, what I want you to think about, Joanne, I really think you're an expert in this. It's either A or B, okay? It's either A or B. And A is we are in a new normal in pricing and residual value curves. B is there's still room to fall sort of back to a normal in market values and residual value curves. So basically, we are where we are, and the residual value curve will just continue from where it's at, or we're gonna have a correction, which would be B. So with that said, panel, let's get going. Actually, yeah, let's get the answers, panel. Hold on. Yeah, okay, Joanne, go ahead. Yeah, we haven't turned him yet. We haven't turned him.
From what I'm seeing, I'm gonna go with B.
B, okay.
While they're right, if you could get your feedback forms ready for the draw. I know this is very tense.
Okay, so Tana, let's turn the panel. Joanne, you are of course correct, and I am the only one not correct up here. All right. Thank you, Joanne, for being a good sport. All right, congrats. All right, guys, let's get into the future and kind of how we feel about the future in our remaining time. Glenn, start this off briefly. Where do you see OEM pricing strategies for the next 2 years? How are you guys thinking about pricing in the next two?
Yeah, so for pricing, I mean, just briefly, obviously, inflation will play a big part of what we do with the pricing. The other thing that we do too is as we see cost impacts from our suppliers, I mean, we're obviously going to have to look at that and factor that into our pricing evaluations.
Gotcha. And then just around the horn, guys, how do you feel about values in 2026? We'll start with Chris, since he's not dropping his board.
I think values will start to just, they'll still depreciate a little bit in 2026, unless there's some type of economic or stock market disruption, that could affect them. I think if you look at, the way we look at it is baseline value. So historically, aircraft will depreciate, on a straight line 10 to 12% a year, but there's fluctuations, and I think we're above baseline valuations. So there's going to be a slight correction where aircraft are going to start depreciating a little bit faster than they have, but I don't really see it happening to a large extent in 2026, bar some type of huge correction in the stock market.
Joe.
Well,
and time is valuable at this point.
Yeah. Well, from what I'm seeing, there is going to be some corrections to it, as we've mentioned previously, another black swan of some kind that's going to throw it. We're not living in the post-pandemic where all the prices went haywire. During that time period, I'd say, gee, I'd have to draw an upside-down hockey stick to be able to come up with any type of residual, because it was moving up, and then you had no idea when it was going to drop. And to comment on Chris, well, we don't know when it's going to drop again either. So we're kind of in, but it's a lesser degree of it. So there's going to be some correction. We don't know when it is, and it's going to be, I think it's more of a normal depreciation that's going to go, at least for the near term.
Close this up, David.
I think in the last 5 years, we've had quite a number of opportunities for the market to either go up or down. And what we've seen is that since the inventory of available aircraft has been reduced, that it's not as sharp one way or the other. So there is a decrease in the values, but it's steady. It's not a fall off the cliff type arrangement. And I think if we assume that the current market dynamics are retained through 2026, apart from some form of difference, we would anticipate that the market values would retain a steadiness over the next 12 months.
Yeah, and I'll just close it up by saying, you know, at our shop, we feel pretty good about market prices. We feel like there's just a grown community of jet users. You can see this in just demand. You can see this in utilization. It's just really good fundamental metrics. And it used to be where if there was like a stressful event in the world, you would actually see the jet market feel it. And I've seen the opposite over the last portion of my career, where I feel like if something's stressful in the world, people almost gravitate to private aviation because there's some level of reliability and safety that they otherwise don't feel. So that's our thoughts over at Dallas Jet. These guys were good sports to do this. Al, thanks for having us. It's been a great show, and you always keep exceeding expectations, Al, and Corporate Jet Investor and the whole team. So that's a wrap for us. So thanks.